Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Kim here, and today is episode 3 of our series of making a hardcover book, a hardcover illustrated book into a junk journal. And we chose books, or at least I kind of showed you the books that I chose, where there's lots of illustrations that you can use back in your book. And I kind of wanted you to choose themes that are themes that you like and that is something you can work with for all the images in the books and stuff. So I'm hoping you were able to find a book that you liked. And for those of you that are joining us for the first time, you really have to go back and watch episodes 1 and 2 because we took our hardcover book and we took it all apart. We gutted it inside so that it's ready to rebuild into a junk journal. And then in episode 2, we sorted all the pages into sort of 3 very loose categories. One of them being that we would use some of the pages as pages that would go back into the book. And then some of them, like I have a questionable pile of 3 pieces, and I'll get back to that in a second. And then I have a pile of pages that I said I wanted to use for ephemera, for making different journal cards and tags and such. So like this was part of the end pages, and I just thought it was just such a beautiful piece of paper, and I thought there's 2 of them, and I'm going to either use them to make tags or journal cards or something with this paper because it's just so beautiful. So just to give you an idea, in this case here, this was the page I said I wanted to keep because it was about the book, which was Victorian embroidery, and it had all the copyright information. And for me, I just thought this would make a nice little trifold to put in the book in one of the pockets. This page here I'm keeping because I like this image that I want to use in the book. I like this little image here as a little element that would go on a page. I wasn't fussy about this, so whatever's left over I can use as tag bases or journal card bases. Same with this. The kitty, on one hand, I like him. On the other hand, I really like this. So I thought I could make this into a little envelope. And then there's just different ones that I thought I could turn into ephemera. I really liked this little piece here. I thought that would make a really cute tag. And same with these 3 pieces here. Now this book is a book on Victorian embroidery. And so what I will do after I've put the book back together is I will focus on adding some Victorian ladies and finding images that will work for that, and incorporate all of these as ephemera pieces back in. So I think in this book there's a couple of images that were of ladies that I could cut out. Here's a couple of pretty ladies here. But there's also some fun images on the other side, so it's hard to choose sometimes. So this is my ephemera pile. Oh, here's a lady with children, and I just thought she would be a nice Victorian lady to put back in the book. And these are things that I will show you as I go along, and there's the other end page. So that's my ephemera pile, and then I have that questionable pile. And I lost my paper clip. Oh, here it is. And so the questionable pile was, there's only 3 pieces. I really liked this image here, and I thought that would make a really nice page in the book. But on the other side of it were these lovely ladies, and they're putting together a gown. So I thought this would make a really nice journaling card or tag to go in the book. And then same with here, I was torn between having this Victorian image and maybe incorporating this into a tag or something. But then there was also this lovely item that could be fussy cut, and this tassel that's on the dark would make a really nice tag. But I think she's winning because she looks more like she should go in the book. And then this was another one that I was questioning which side I wanted to do. So this is a lovely Victorian image. I could fussy cut out that flower, but then there's also these very pretty flowers that I could fussy cut out. So I'm leaving that in the questionable pile, and it will depend on how far I get with the ephemera in the book and what else I want to add into it. But for today, our focus is on rebuilding signature pages. Now, so I had made a pile of pages that I wanted to use for signature pages, maybe. These were the pile that I said, if I don't use it as pages in the book, this will go as base ephemera for making tags and journal cards, because we do need something to work on. So, like, this is a very pretty image. It's got this Victorian lady doing some type of embroidery on it. And then there's this image here, which is also very pretty. And these have all been torn out of the book. And in order to make a signature page, you need to have 2 pages together, fastened together and folded to make your pages. And we're going to make 15 of these, where we put 2 pages together to make one large page that gets folded in half to go in our journal. Because we will be stitching them, doing the book stitching to put them back in. However, we just tore these out, so we don't want to put them back in, because then what was the point of taking the book apart, right? And then there isn't anything to write on here. There's nothing to really use on here. Oh, isn't she beautiful? What do I do? Do I keep her or do I keep that? Good question. So in order to have pages to write on, you do want to have pages that reflect what the book is about, of course, but you want to have pages to write on. So we're not going to match 2 of the book pages together. We're going to match this up with something totally different. Whether we put it on this side of the page or on this side of the page, we're going to match them up with 2 totally different pieces. So to further explain that a little bit more, I went and gathered some pages and papers. I'm going to take these 2 pages out of the book to show you. Now, this is a little bit more difficult because I don't normally think about this when I'm doing it, because I've just done it so much. But you need to gather some papers. And I know not everyone has a stash of papers the way I do. You might be just starting out and you are very limited. It really doesn't matter what you use or how often you use it. You just want to stagger using the pretty images from the book and having pages to write on. So whatever you have in your stash of stuff to write on, I'm just going to give you some examples. I have brown paper bags here. I'm going to cut them down to page sizes, maybe a little bit bigger, because it's easier to cut them bigger and then cut them down as you need them. But I want to have a page in brown paper bag, which I'm sure you've got some in your stash, or you can have access to them, or ask a friend. But if you can imagine that we had these 2 pages together, when they're folded in your book, you're going to have this pretty page to look at, and somewhere else in your book you're going to have this brown paper. And then you may have the next one where you put them together this way, so that you have this page somewhere in the book and you have the brown paper to write on. And it's not like we're going to leave these plain like this. We are going to decorate these as well using the elements and the ephemera that we're going to make. We're going to go back and decorate these pages as well. So the idea is to have different things to match up with one of your book pages, so that you have things to play with and write on. Now, when we put this page in the book, for example, this is what I'm focusing on on this side of the page. On the other side of the page, this is a pretty image that I'd like to leave, so that when you open this page up, it's still there. But we're going to now do things on the writing and anything that's in our way, whether we decorate it with paper, journaling paper, or have a flip out or an envelope, or anything that we want to add onto here after. And then we've got this blank space here that can be used for writing on as well. You know, you can make some stampings on here for making lines or drawing pencil lines. These are all things that we can do in the book, so that you have both sides of the page now to look at. If that makes sense. I'm hoping I'm making sense. And so, yeah, the brown paper is a really nice source of material to work with the book. I'm just going to quickly again show you with this page. On this page, it's got this beautiful design. I may use that as a backdrop behind maybe an envelope or a pocket that we add on. So we again have the pretty picture to look at in the book next to a blank page, but we also have this design on here that will be a backdrop for a pocket, or you could even glue lined paper on here with this just peeking out, sort of framing the paper, and then having something else up here. So that is my thought process for these book pages that I'm keeping, that I'm saying this is going into the book. So brown paper is a source of paper that we're going to use. I also have some just white, I think it's kind of an off-white bond paper with holes in it. It doesn't matter if the holes are there or not, because we will be, when we start putting things together, we will be fixing all that up, and I will show you as we go along. Now, this page is, of course, a different size, so that doesn't matter either. It can be glued down this way. It can be glued this way and folded up so that you have a little page that's folded in. But the idea is to create pages that are attached that become your book pages in the book. Again, I hope that's making sense. We will do a few together in using different papers. I will show you all my different papers, and I will probably put one together off camera and then show you the pages afterwards that are done. So this is another source of paper to use. Maybe you have a few of these old scribblers in your stash. These again are all great paper. Look, it's already lined for you. It's ready to add into your page. It doesn't look like much right now like this. Yeah, my book is very, very deep. I may glue two different papers together to add things on. We'll see from as I start doing them. But loose leaf papers or scribblers are a great source of very inexpensive material to use for your book. I would also consider using the scribbler itself. I don't want this, but we can put things on and elements on to cover that up, depending on the color of your book or the color and theme that you're going with. I would just take this apart by taking the staples out in the center. This is a signature in itself, right? So I would just take the staples out. I'll do that a little later. And then I would have this already folded sheet that I can use in the journal as another page. I have that children's paper that I picked up at a thrift shop. I just tore a few pages out of the book, so this one's a little bit longer. I would just tear it down. It depends on the size of your book that you're working with as to how you would cut off and add on pages. But this is another source of material. On this side, it has lines. I could turn it this way and have the lines at the bottom and do a picture at the top, or vice versa. Have it this way, have the lines up here for writing on, have an element, a decorative element, or an envelope or something that we create to glue on here as well. The back side is blank, so again, it has a lot of opportunities here for adding other things in. And then there's ledger paper or journaling paper. You know, I'm sure you've seen this or have some in your stash. It's lined on one side. On this case, it's lined on both sides. Some of them are only blank green on the other side. But that's another source of material that you can use in the book. So it's basically what you have on hand. I have some parchment paper here. This is another lined children's learning book, and so, or exercise book, I guess they call it. I might use it this way, attached here. I may use it this way and add two together and then fold them in. So these are things we will play with along the way that I can show you how to put them together. Here's another piece of ledger paper. This one is quite wide, so I've already folded the flap in just to show you how you can fold the flaps in, still glue them together, and there's going to be several methods of putting the pages together for making your long sheet. I have, this is just computer paper. It's white on one side. You know, it's for making those quickie posters or quickie letterheads. Again, it can be, depending on the design that you have, if you have any of this, it can be put together quite easily and used, and you have the blank page on the other side. This is very complementary to this book, but not necessarily to every book. This book that I'm working on here is a book of embroidery, so this might be something that I might add some embroidered pieces, or maybe do a couple stitches around this flower to further enhance the embroidery part of it. So there's that style of paper. I had this scroll paper, again, just another one of those computer papers that you use to write things onto or print onto, but that might be a nice paper to add into here. I could have the scroll go that way and do some labels at the bottom. So it's just another option of paper there. Coffee dyed paper. Now I coffee dye everything, paper with holes in it. It's probably that same paper that I showed you at the beginning. So if you have coffee dyed paper, you can use that. Again, my book is really big, so I'm going to be adding things onto the bottom so I get a lot of my pages to match up. I don't want to trim these down because we know that these came out of the book, so we know this is the length that we're working with. I have some certificate paper here, and again, it depends on what you have in stock. This has got the certificate on the one side. It's just plain parchment on the other side. Fun to work with. I like it. I have some music sheet, and now this one I think is just perfect size for this paper, but you may have some that's shorter or longer that you either fold up or cut off or glue extra pages onto. So again, that's something I will show you as we go along. I have some graph paper here. Oh, look at that. That's nice size. So this is a really nice paper that can be added in here. And I know you're not going to have the same papers that I do. I'm just showing you different options, just so you don't get caught up that, oh dear, I don't have that kind of paper. Maybe you only have one package of this graph paper. We'll use that as every second sheet because we're going to be decorating these pages, so they're not going to look the same. And we'll be cutting out elements from the ephemera and different things to add on to these pages to make them look more decorated. So if that's all you have is plain paper, then use plain paper. This came out of another book. This was the end page from another book that I had sitting in the pile. And I liked that it had a library pocket right on here, so I thought this might be a good page to stitch into the book, maybe somewhere near the front that I can use it as one of the pockets to put stuff into for the book copyright information and book information. But you don't have to keep that. I just like keeping that just so I remember what the book was and where it came from. Because I make a lot of journals and sometimes it's easy to forget what kind of book was that I was using. So having the information about the book, the title, the author, then I can go back and even reference it online to see, oh yeah, it was an embroidery book that I really liked and I loved all the images in it. So that's just a fun thing for me to have on hand and in my books. And then there's scrapbook paper. Now, some of you have an abundance of scrapbook paper. I do too. I don't normally use it. I do honestly use a lot of printables that I print out because I tend to want to go with different themes that are relevant to the book that I'm working on. But for the sake of this video, I am going to be using a scrapbook paper that I have in stock. And, you know, it is a good idea to use it up. Now, for the most part, it is, you know, almost the same size as the book. There could be a little bit of trimming. The nice part about it is that you can fold it in or out or cut it off and use it for additional ephemera, additional decorating. You can fold it to use as making tuck spots, or accordion folding something else onto here, so you can expand on this even further. by gluing something else onto it. So scrapbook paper is fun to use. I would recommend the lighter weight, one-sided, because then we can do, there's so much potential of things that we can do with this. I would recommend a lighter pattern like this so that you can actually write on it, although this might not be the best example because it's already got writing on it. But you don't want something this dark only because you lose another possible journal page for writing. And the whole point is to incorporate pictures from the book back into the book, but also to give yourself lots of places to journal and create on. Because this is a pretty picture. We don't want to cover the whole thing. I could see maybe making an envelope to go in the front here, but for the most part, we want to keep this as decoration and utilize the back side of it, because that's the picture that we've chosen and we've taken out of the book for the sake of putting this book back together. Does that make sense? So anyway, I just grabbed some scrapbook papers in different designs and colors. I may use some to complement the colors in the book. I may use some because it matches my idea in the book. It's whatever is your personal choice or whatever you have on hand. So you do have to give some thought to what you're putting together with your pages, because I have no control of what book you're using. And if you have a book that you're not sure quite what to do with it, send me a private message through Facebook and we can have a little chat and I can give you some ideas of how you can use different papers and things that you might already have. I don't know if you remember, but when I had gone thrifting for Thrifty Canucks one time, and I got this awful wedding paper. I already cut it up, but you can see there was a big bride and groom right smack in the center of the paper. So I'm going to use this as pages within the book as well. And so if you have wrapping paper, maybe you have some leftover wrapping paper from something that you were giving a gift and you have a couple sheets left, you can also use that and glue that into the books as well. I think because of the colorings that are sort of showing up in this book, they're very earthy and sort of fallish type colors. I think I might use this as page extensions so that when I want a page, for example, this coffee stain page to go with this, I think what I would do is probably glue this onto the bottom or top to match, and then I can fold it up or fold it this way so that I'm creating the full-size page and still being able to maintain it and have a pocket or something. But I will show you how I do that as we get to doing the actual pages. So for the first part, you're going to go and gather up your pages or paper, things that you want to match in with your book, and get a better idea of which images you want to use as your pages. Now we're going to be making 15 full-size pages. So you need 15 book pages and 15 blank journaling pages, like all the different ones that I've shown you, or others, whatever you have. So 15 and 15. So if your pages aren't the right size, we're going to be building them up, but so kind of have a few extra pages or a few extra pieces that you can use to build on and to get your pages to be full size. And as well have 15 pages that you've taken out of the book to use to go back in the book. Now, not every book has beautiful full glossy pages. Now I lost all my paper. I lost all my book pages. Where did I put them? Okay, so not every book has 15 colorful pages that we're going to put back in. Like I've got 2 here, 3, and some of them I don't necessarily want. But supposing you only have 4 pages that you really like to put back in the book. Well, then you're going to pick some of the other pages. Like I have this Christmas one. I really don't want it in the book. So I know I'm going to use it to either make an envelope or something. I'm going to cover it. And so here's probably a better example. So you have a page like this, and you know, you might keep elements here from the page, but there's really nothing on here that is something you want to use. This could be part of your 15 pages. If you don't have enough nice pages that you like, you can still use the in between pages. And that's why I say questionable pages, and they all go in a pile, because I know I'm either going to use it for ephemera or I'm going to use it as another page to go in the book if I don't have enough. But there was nothing in here that I really wanted to cut out itself for ephemera, so that's why I put it all in this one pile together. So here's a nice page. Here's not so nice a page. There's nothing in here that I want to cut out, but it can be a page in my book if I don't have enough nice ones. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to pause the camera and I'm going to come back and show you my pages and matched up, but they won't be put together yet. That we will do on camera together as well. Okay, one moment. And I'm back. So I've chosen my 15 pages, but something I forgot to mention is if you had a jacket or book cover for your book that you wanted to incorporate back in, which in my case, I really do. Not everybody likes the glossiness or the thick, shiny paper, but I really like it. I don't care if it's shiny or not. The whole idea is we're taking junk and we're putting it back into the book to make a book. But I mean, if you didn't want to use it, you could also use it for ephemera, but I decided I wanted to use it because it is a full-size spread. So that knocks down one page. So I'm only going to do 14 additional pages plus this. If you hear moaning and groaning, it's my dog. He's sleeping right outside my studio door here. And he's just moaning and groaning, half asleep. So that's going to be one of my pages. Now the next, I've matched them up with a piece of paper. There is no rhyme or reason. I just started grabbing one to one, and I'll explain it as I go along. So I have, this is page number 2 that's going in the book. Page number 3, it just, you know, I just kind of picked random or matching colors, but I really didn't have to because they're going to be on opposite sides of the book anyway, so it really doesn't matter. So that's number 3. On the back side of this is nothing, so I can use this to put stuff onto. Here's number 4. I just matched up with a blue paper. I can leave that as part of the element of design on here and cover up the little bits, still have a place to journal on this side. And I think I talked to you that in the last video that I may replace that picture with something else. So that's number 4, I think, right? This one is just a random page, so I matched that up with the scrapbook paper. I chose something that's very light pattern so that I can write on here or do something with it, but it's also white on the other side, so it's easy to work with. And this can be built upon using the sides and little bits and pieces, but I can add elements and pockets and stuff to cover this up. So I think that's 5. I don't know. I know I have 14 here. This one, again, just a boring page that I do like that little girl. I don't mind this depending on where it ends up in the book. It might be on the outside edge. And then this is empty enough that I can add things onto here and put pictures or pockets or whatever. I've matched it up with this ledger paper. This ledger paper is quite wide, so this is definitely going to play into being a flip out of some kind. So if I decide to use this as an edge of a page, I have to be mindful of where this is going so that I can take advantage of both. But we'll work on that as well in the future, or in this video. So there's another one. This one again is just a generic page. I said it doesn't matter what I match it up with, and it doesn't matter how it gets put in the book because I'm going to use it mostly for covering anyway. So I just matched it with this. I don't want this to be in the center of the book when we start putting the pages together, because then I'm going to lose the sunflower. So I probably will put it on that way or that way. Okay, my dog is barking now. Again, another simple page. And sorry, I'm just going to pause the video for 1 second. Sorry about that. Highway was barking because he can sense when Tom is putting on his boots or getting ready to go outside. And so he knows he's going to do something with him. And so he gets all excited and starts barking. So here was that blank page. Again, you know, nothing, you know, really important on here. I mean, these can still be elements on the page, and then the rest of this can be covered up. I liked this part, and the rest can be covered up one way or another. So I've just matched it with that scroll paper. Another page here, some spot elements, nothing too fancy. I probably will just cover up the backside with different things here. Although this is kind of neat when I think about it. It's kind of neat that you could be able to write on here as well. I might put a piece of washi tape there to get rid of this word that says cutting line. But I might play on this as well to create a writing spot. It could be fun. So I just matched it up with a piece of that certificate paper. So it's whatever paper you have. Don't get caught up on the different papers I'm using. I'm just showing you so that maybe you have stuff in your stash to go, oh yeah, I have that. I forgot about that. And if you don't have it, if all you have is one kind of paper, or, you know, plain white copy paper, or copy paper that is written on the other side that you can cover up, or brown paper bags, use what you have. Don't go out. It's a junk journal. So we're going to make it look fabulous just using bits and pieces. So here again, music sheet. Music sheet is fun to use because it's so pretty, but again, it's not a paper that you can journal on. So if you're going to use music sheet with another page, you have to look at how you're going to incorporate it in the book after. I mean, like, are you going to use it as a frame background to put something on, like an envelope or a pocket? Are you going to use it as just another decorative page? Maybe you could have a cascading notebook on here or something. So again, keep that in mind when you're matching up pages, that, you know, music sheet is definitely one that's more of a decorative element as opposed to a journaling page. When I make journals, I like to make sure that there's a lot of space to write and lots of space where you can add your own things in, because when you send out a journal, you don't want to have it complete. If you're selling your journals or giving it as a gift, you don't want to have it complete, because what's the point of giving somebody a journal if it's already done? The journal should have lots of room for them to add their own expression in. You've just given them the you know, the basic roots to start with, and then and the elements that encourage journaling, because, you know, maybe you have somebody that does embroidery. Like this would be a beautiful gift to give somebody who does embroidery, because then they can put different stitch samplers in, or make notes of different stitching that they're doing, or, you know, just do a little test piece and of fabrics. They can glue fabrics in here. So keep that in mind when you're putting it together a journal. And if you're not going to use it for yourself, then you want people to have room to be inspired and to use the journal, because that's the whole point, right? Unless you're making a visual journal for yourself, then of course, then you can fill the pages however you like, right? Again, graph paper just matched up with that. I just did it because it was sort of color coordinated, but realizing after that I don't have to do that, because the pages are going to be on opposite sides of the book when you put the book together, because each page is going to get folded and another page is going to get folded on top or beneath it. The only one that's going to match up is the one in the center. So then you might want to match something more definite together, but you know, you can take your time and figure that out, which page is going to be your center page to put in the center. And then even there, you might have a small element that you can put in that will cover that, or we might add something onto the outside of the page that folds into the book, so you don't see these two pages matched together. So there's lots of different ways to do this. Now this one I matched up. I opened up the scribbler, I took the staples out, and I opened it up so I could take out full-size sheets by just pulling the sheet out completely. I have the blue cover as well in a full-size piece. Now it's not necessarily that I want to use this as a page like this in the book, but it also gives me the opportunity that I can match it up with another page, and this can be a fold out or a flip out because it's nice and long. Or I can have it this way in the book and fold it up and just do something with the holes afterwards. So that's the only reason I took the staples out and kept these pages long. And I have matched this one up with a page, knowing that I'm going to do some kind of a flip out thing with it. But at this point, you know, it's still unsure until I get the feel for putting the page together as to how I'm going to use this in the book. This next one I just matched up with a piece of scrapbook paper, knowing I'm going to cut it down or fold it up. It's one of those flippy fold things that I can do, which we will do together. And then I have this one matched up with some brown paper bag. And the brown paper bag will also, it'll get used as a page in the book, but the leftovers will also be great for making elements like clusters and tag backs and journal backs. So all of it will get used up within the book. I hope I'm not scaring the heck out of you. I hope I'm not overwhelming you with all of this. So the next thing to do, once we've got our pages matched up, is to start putting them together. Now I'm going to look at the, I do want to tell you one other thing, is I have a few envelopes here. These may be an opportunity to match up with pages as well. Just to give you an idea, this would match up pretty nicely. It doesn't hurt if it sticks out of your book or if you have to cut it down. That could be another option for making an instant envelope pocket. This one's opened up, I see. So you could match that up and make an instant pocket. Or another opportunity would be to glue it into your page, into your book. You may have to cut it down depending on the size of envelope you have, and it can be another pocket in your book or a fold-out pocket in your book. But I just thought I would show you these because this might be something I will use in one of my books, and I will show you how to use it in the book, as well as other envelopes that we make and extra envelopes that you have on hand if you have. And so if you have some, gather them together and bring them to your table. So that's where we're at for that. I hope I'm not boring you, or I worry about that. I have a different method than a lot of people do, and so I worry that sometimes my methods are a little wild and crazy. I'm just going to get this out of the way. You've seen my 15 pages, and now I'm going to show you, go back to the book. So this book measures about 8.5 across, and in length it is pretty much 12 inches in length, but we don't want to go that far exact, and otherwise your pages are going to be sticking out of the ends. So I would take about 1/2 inch off of either width and height to work on in your book. And then you can always build after by making flips and flops and things afterwards to increase the size of the pages that open up. But in order to be able to put your book together, now this is 8.5, so I wouldn't have my pages being any wider than 8 inches or any taller than like this is 12 inches, so I would kind of work in the 11.5 inch that way. This way, when you put your book together, there still might be some trimming that you have to do afterwards, and I'll explain that. But if you keep in mind that you're building within 8 inches and 11.5 inches, and it can be smaller, but you don't really want your pages to stick outside of the book because then they have a chance of getting damaged from overhandling. So in this case, I'm going to work within 8 and 11.5. So I'm going to put my book cover aside, and I'm going to look at this piece here. So this is already past 8.5 with the flips. So I'm just going to give this a good fold in half first. This is the cover. If you're using the cover, if not, you can skip past this part. But you may want to use the cover on another book, so keep that in mind too if you want to watch. I'm just giving it a firm fold. And this will be the inside part of the book. But if you look from the firm fold, it is 9 inches across. I don't know if you can see where I'm, but mine is 9 inches across. I think I have a ruler here to show you. So it's way too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these flaps in just a little bit more. And knowing where my fold is, I've refolded it to confirm. So I want to be about 8 inches. So I've just readjusted this, and I'm going to fold it in. And then give it a good, this is my bone folder today, but my bone folder looks different each time. So I know now that this page is within that 8-inch, 8.5-inch, was the size of my book. So it's within 8 inches. And it can be wider or narrower, but in the end, you may have to cut some off. So again, knowing where the fold is that I've made here to the center of the book, or the center of the page, I'm just going to bring this in a little bit. And just have a quick peek here. Yes, it's within the 8 inches. And I'm just going to firmly fold it. And so now the width of this book page, mine didn't line up. I didn't measure because I don't measure perfectly. So it really doesn't matter either way, as long as they are both under the 8 inches, which they are. This one ended up being about 7.5, and this one is almost 8. And that's okay, because they're still going to be within the width of the book. And now we just have to do something with the height. And because this book jacket is a little bit frayed up here, and there's not really much, unless I really wanted to turn a piece up for the pocket, there's really not a lot here that that I can turn up without making it smaller than the book itself. So I'm just going to cut it off. I'm just going to cut it right at that right about there. Now, I don't know how well I can do. You could probably do this on your cutter, of course, but I'm just going to line it up on a square somewhere. Let's see. So I've lined up both. And, you know, my rule is always measure, cut, then measure again and say oops, and then recut. Or set aside for another project. And I do have my X-Acto blade. You can cut it on your cutters, of course, or cut it by hand with your scissors. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm reasonably straight. Can you see what I'm doing here? And I missed a little bit there, so I'm just going to catch it again. And voila. Now I still have part of the name. I have this little edge here. It must have had a price tag on it, but I can put a tab or something on that to cover it up. And it should now, according to my calculations, yes, it fits within the ends, the outside edge of the book. And so I have my first page that is going in here. It's already a one piece. I don't have to cut it or stitch it together or glue it or anything. It's all ready to go. And then I have these two flip outs that I can decide what to do with afterwards. So I can either turn this into a pocket by gluing the top and bottom, or I can make it flip out further and add different things onto it. The inside of the pages are perfect for writing on. There's lots of fabulous writing spaces on there. So I think I might just build on the top of this and allow it to open up. But there are some creases in here that are permanent, so that's going to take some working to get that flat again. Again, I could probably just collage over top of this part of it so that it does end up sitting nice and flat and maybe isn't so glossy. But I like the idea of being able to open this up and have additional writing space or opportunities inside. Whether this is going to be the first page in my book, I don't know at this point. On the outside back of it, it's got all of this part here, so this might be a great opportunity to glue down a pocket. I like the front of it. I like that it says the Victorian embroidery. You won't see this once this is stitched into our book, into the signature, or as a signature into the book. But I have the first page done, and now I have to do 14 more for this book. So again, I'm just taking two pieces of paper, and I'm going to put them together. Now in this case, I have the rough edge here, so I think that's the one I'm going to use to put the book's pages together. There are three or four different methods that you can do this. You can use duct tape, some kind of fancy duct tape to put the pages together by taping it on both sides. You can use your sewing machine and stitch another piece of paper or stitch them together overlapped. You can glue them. You can use your washi tapes, although, washi tape is not my friend, so I'm not really good with working with washi tape unless I've already glued it, and then I use washi tape as a decorative method. So my method of choice is always to use paper strips and collage down them, and as well I also like to overlap them. To overlap them, I'm just going to take a little piece of this page and I've just given it a little bit of a fold, about a half an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch. And I'm just going to firmly fold that. And I'm going to glue this to this page like this. And then I'm going to collage over top with additional book page papers. It doesn't have to be book page. It could be just a blank page in your stash of pages. It can be, in my case, I've got extra sheets of this gift wrap. So I can use a piece of that. So I'm just going to tear off a little, about a 1-inch strip. And I'm going to do 2 of them. So I'm just making some strips. Okay, and there's my next strip, and I will continue to use this. So by the time I'm done, you're not going to see this groom's face in here because I'll just keep using it as different strips. So taking my glue stick, I'm going to glue along the edge here of the page. I hope you can see that purple. And I'm just going to line this up. And then using this strip of paper, I'm going to glue over top to secure it in there. Need my glue pad. So this can be any of your additional papers. It could be pieces of scrapbook paper, whatever you have on hand. And depending on, everybody works differently with their glues. I'm just going to line that up over top of the join, approximately halfway on either side. And I know already, because I've taken these book pages out of the book, I know that they are smaller than the book. The book, I said, was 12 inches. So this is about just around 11 and a half, maybe a little bit more. So it's fine for the height. And we are going to lose a bit of one page or the other when we fold this because we have overlapped them. So that is where you can decide how you want to build your pages and how you want to, and I don't want to fold this just yet because it's wet. But how you want to fold them and how you want to add on to them. And that's the fun part, is when you start building your pages and adding totally random things, like pieces of brown paper bag could go as a strip along the bottom here, or you can make it all the way down even further and then fold it up to be part of your fold. So let's do that. I'm going to take a piece of coffee dyed paper. Because I want it to be random. I want people to look at this and see that there were different things that were added in as elements in this book. So the page, again, is, for starters, it's the same size as this. So I'm just going to cut off a small piece. Let's go about maybe not quite half, because it's got holes in it. Okay, so I'm going to go not quite half. And this is going to now be part of that page. And I'm going to first line it up with this on this side. And I'm going to give it a good glue. It's a little bit shorter than there, so let's go this way. Or no, let's go this way, I think. Sorry, I'm a little wishy-washy because I'm not used to teaching this, so I'm thinking it'll overlap about maybe, it's about 2 inches that I've overlapped it. And you don't have to overlap that much. You can use less, but just for fun, we're going to go with 2 inches. So taking my glue, and this is where it's going to get really, really interesting and fun, how you build your pages. And that's why we call it a junk journal, because you can use all kinds of random stuff. This is also a great way to use paper that's written on one side and blank on the other. And I'm just going to line that up. Oops, a little uneven there. Might be because I didn't cut it straight. And I'm going to make sure that this is totally glued down. You see how there's some space here and there. I'm going to run the glue. Now, everybody's glue choices are different, and I'm going to be doing some patchwork on here with the other papers, the strips that we cut, so that will fix this up as well. And you can see I'm a little bit off there. You'll never see that when we're finished, but I'm just for the sake of it, I don't know if you can see it right here. I've got a little bit of white showing. I'm just going to cut it like that. But using any kind of decorative papers that you have to patch it up, I'm going to run a patch right across here. And you're saying, okay, but now your page is way longer. Yes. I'm going to patch this first by running this on both seams so that it glues the two seams together. And I don't even care if the patch goes right across into the other page. If you don't like it, you can always cut it off. And you know, we have that seam is still open on this side, like where you can see the two papers. We're going to put a patch that way as well. So maybe this one, I don't want it to be that thick, so maybe this part I'll just take off. And taking another piece to patch it in. Now, some of you may not like this idea, but this is how I do them. So you can use washi tape, you can use strips of fabric and stitch your pages to the fabric. You can have them be different lengths and still match them up, but I find it fun to take the pages and add on different pieces. So now I'm going to just finish off this one little piece here that isn't covered. And I'm going to take another piece of this paper. And you can use any kind of paper. You can use your leftover scrap book papers. If you have lots of strips of paper left over, it's whatever you want to use to patch up your pieces. It doesn't have to be the same width. As you can see, it's not the same width, but I just need to patch up that little piece there. So I'm going to glue that down. And taking the lid from my glue, I'm just going to press that in place. Now I have made my first patch of the two pages being put together. Now, doesn't this create some interest in the book already? And now, because this page is longer, I can fold it up this way, or I can turn around and fold it up that way. Now, I haven't patched that little piece there, and we are going to the end of the paper, so I have to get another piece and do a little patch there. Sorry for the delay. I've just added some glue onto here, and I'm just going to follow to the end of that page and patch it together using my glue. So now this is where I am folding the page. Not here, because this was the short part of the page. This is the length that we're going with. So I'm just going to fold this up. And this will create a little side pocket. Now this paper is very brittle, so I've already made a little tear in it. But so now I have the possibility, and I say possibility because we can change our mind at any time, but I have the possibility of a pocket flip on this side. I could have turned it and put it this way instead. Now this is just freshly glued, so I don't want to fold it at this point. We did make a fold in the blue paper so that we could sit the book page into it. And then once this is dried, I will refold it so that we have a full-size sheet that is going to go into our book. Now, I say that this is a possibility of a flip. I'm going to leave it on here until, I've got all my pages done and patched together. And then if I decide to leave this as a flip, which I can do it right now, I'm going to just cut a little bit into the page. Oh, sorry, I did that wrong because I can see where the page is going to fold. So I'm going to cut it a little bit further over. Again, sorry for the pause. I'm not used to doing this. So I know that the page is going to fold here eventually, but right now it's too wet. I don't want to do it because then you have the pages will buckle on you. But this will be folded up once I decide to fold the page, and that is my first 2 pages built together. Now you can see, because we're using this one as the base for folding, we lost about 1/2 inch there. So this is where, when you fold the pages, you want to check in your book afterwards to see how they sit. This might sit more like that. You may have to trim some off depending on your book, depending on the paper you're using, but that's half the fun of building these pages. And you never really know how they're going to turn out until you actually have them in the book. So I will continue to make my full-size pages that are going to be folded in half so that I have a total of 15 pages to go in my book. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then I will come back and show you them. And I don't know at what length we are right now. It might be in part 2 of this of today's putting your pages together. So I will be back shortly, whether it's in this video or a separate video. So I'll see you soon.